Hello everyone, this is the screencast for Virgil's Aeneid, Book 1, lines 516 through 526. And Aeneas is in Carthage, and he and Achates, wrapped in the mist that Venus has placed on them, they've been traveling around Carthage and watching Dido, and watching as she leads her people and her cities getting built. And now they are seeing some of the Trojans that they hadn't seen since the storm had blown them apart. They are now addressing Dido. And so we see Aeneas and Achates watching them. Dissimilant et nube cava speculantur amicti quae fortuna viris, classum quo litore linquant, quid veniant. So these verbs are all present tense, but it makes a lot more sense if we translate them as past tense verbs. So this is going to be historical present, and later some of the verbs are past tense, so this whole passage just makes sense, more sense if these are all past tense. So dissimilant, they hid, and they watched, having been wrapped by a hollow cloud. And then we have two indirect questions. What fortune it was, you have to imply a sit here, for the men, on which shore they left their fleet, why they came. So the reason that these questions are being asked indirectly, I guess, is because it's just a total coincidence that Ilioneus and his the other Trojans have all ended up in the same place as Aeneas and his crew. Cunctis nam lecti navibus ibant, orantes veniet templum clamore petebant. Having been chosen from all of the ships they were going, begging for a pardon, and they were seeking the temple with a shout. And so lecti is a PPP, and they're seeking the temple with a shout, which means that they were just like shouting as they to try to get Dido's attention. Postquam ingresset coram data copia fondi, Maximus Eleonis placido sic pectore coepid. So afterwards, introgressi, which is the same thing as ingressi, which is a PPP depth, so having entered the temple is implied, and the opportunity for speaking having been given openly. And this is actually data est, and so Maximus Alienes, and the last, this whole part of his name is actually only one syllable, so that's how it works in the meter. But anyway, the greatest Ilioneus, or you could take that as like the oldest Ilioneus, which is kind of a good thing to be called, I guess. Thus began with a calm chest, or calm heart, and he wants to be as portrayed as if he has a calm heart, so that Dido knows that they are coming to her peacefully and not in an act of war or anything like that. And then Ilioneus starts with his speech to Dido. So, O Regina, noam cui condere Jupiter urbem, justitiaque dedit gentes frenare superbas, Troias te miseri, ventis mar omnia vecti. So, O Queen, to whom Jupiter gave, or granted it to you, implied, to found. And so you kind of have to add the to you in there, otherwise it doesn't really make sense, because then this would be like the actual direct object of date it, and that doesn't really work in English. So granted it to you to found the new city, meaning Carthage, and to restrain proud races with your justice. Uh, we miserable Trojans, having been carried by the winds through every sea, and you have to imply a pair in here, through every sea, and oramos, we beg, and then you have to go back up here for the te. So we beg you. Prohibe infandos a naivus ignes, parce pio generet, propios res aspice nostras. And the books here says that this is a tricolon crescanes, but it's not, because as you can tell that they do not all get bigger in a row, so it's a tricolon, but it's not actually a tricolon crescanes. So, and what's interesting here is that prohibe, parce, and aspice are all direct imperatives, which you would think when he's trying to get Dido on his side and have Dido help him, you wouldn't think that he'd use direct infinitives, but it's pretty interesting. So, keep away the unspeakable fires from the ships. Spare a pious people, and look more closely at our situation. So again, also we have an alliteration here, prohibe parce pio propius, and that kind of leads to like the main word here is pio, because he's like, oh, we're so pious, we're so great, you should help us. And then yeah, so he's just asking her how to do all these things, and I think in the next screencast you'll be able to figure out the end of his speech. So that's the end, and this is Dido and all the Trojans being like, help us please. Thank you.